Hello everybody and welcome back to Bigfoot Lake. Tonight's mystery is a bit of a controversial one. Throughout the years of American history, hundreds and hundreds of stories of giant skeletons have been reported. Many times these reports made front page headlines of the local newspapers. These weren't really what you would call top secret events. Many people knew about these. These skeletons were found by everyday people, some by farmers, some by construction workers. These stories often originated from well-respected people of the community. They had nothing to gain by coming forth with these discoveries. As the reports gained more and more attention, the quote-unquote experts started showing up on the scene. No longer is the discovery amongst a group of locals. Outsiders would begin to flood the area. All too often, a pattern has become almost impossible to ignore. This is a pattern that strongly suggests a massive cover-up. Many times, official government representatives, most notably the Smithsonian Institute, would remove the giant skeletons and artifacts in order to, let's just say, study them. Oftentimes a quick cash agreement would be made for these artifacts and these bones. Those giant skeletons would never be seen again. They would just disappear. This has happened far too many times for it to be a simple coincidence. So it brings up a few questions. Why are they hiding these findings? And why the cover-up? Tonight, we take a look at just a few of these incidents. You'll need to come to your own conclusions and do your own research. Are the stories real? And even more, why is it that with each one of these stories, they end up eerily the same? While some of these reports are short in length, we can draw a lot from what is included. So, with that being said, thanks for joining us tonight here at Bigfoot Lake, and let's dive into tonight's mystery. Our first report. This was written in the Weekly Democratic Statesman of Austin, Texas, April 12th, 1883. This incident was reported in Bristol, Tennessee. And I quote, and this is what the article says. John W. Emmert, employed by the Bureau of Ethnology of the Smithsonian Institution at Washington, has lately explored a mound at Bristol, Tennessee, and secured some interesting and valuable Indian relics. Among other things in the mound was found the skeleton of a gigantic Indian. So we have our first report and one missing giant skeleton. And keep in mind, Mr. Emmert was employed by the Smithsonian. Next, we have a report out of West Virginia. This report came out in the 1952 book, West Virginia, A Guide to the Mountain State, on page 448. The report states, in Staunton Park, a triangular park near the western end of the town, is a conical Indian burial mound, 175 feet in circumference at the base and 30 feet high. Ornaments, stone weapons, fragments of pottery, and 14 human skeletons, one more than 7 feet long, were found when the mound was opened by guess who? By the federal government in 1883. So that's two reports and another missing giant skeleton. Next, we have a report from the New York Times. It was published on April 5th, 1886. And this article describes a discovery in Cartersville, Georgia. In part, it reads, acres of skulls and bones. Some of these are gigantic. if the whole frame is in proportion to 2 thigh bones that were found, the owner must have stood 14 feet tall. And moving down in the article, we read that a representative of the Smithsonian Institution is here investigating the curious relics. Starting to see the pattern? 2 more articles refer to this Cartersville, Georgia discovery. From the American Antiquarian from 1885, we read, "On the stones which covered the vault were carved inscriptions, and these, when deciphered, will doubtless lift the veil that now shrouds the history of the race of people that one time inhabited this part of the American continent. The relics have been carefully packed and forwarded to the Smithsonian Institute, and they are said to be the most interesting collection ever found in the United States." Again, same pattern. And lastly, from the North Otago Times, July 23rd, 1884, also talking about the Cartersville, Georgia discoveries. It reads, "H.R. Hazelton recently opened the large Indian mound near Cartersville, Georgia. A layer of heavy flagstones covered a deep vault, in which was found the skeleton of a man 9 feet 2 inches in height, surrounded by 7 other skeletons, apparently those of very young persons. The giant evidently had been a king, as his head was encircled with a copper crown. His hair, black as jet, reached to his waist, but he had no whiskers. The bottom of the vault had first been covered with a thick matting of reeds and dry grass, over which were spread the skins of some wild animals. The underside of the stones covering the grave are filled with deeply carved inscriptions. If it is ever possible to decipher these, Mr. Hazelton thinks he will have something reliable in regard to prehistoric man in America." So here is the big question. Where is this 9 foot 2 inch giant today? So as I mentioned earlier, the pattern is almost undeniable. Discoveries are made, and then the giants disappear. These were just a few examples of the hundreds upon hundreds of stories with the same pattern. You have to decide for yourself what to believe. But in the meantime, don't expect to go to your local museum and see one of these ancient giants. They won't be there. This concludes tonight's story. Let me know what you think about this possible cover-up. And if you have a story you'd like us to share here at Bigfoot Lake, please reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for stopping by Bigfoot Lake. And we'll see you next time. Have a great night.